All right, good morning and thank you so much for joining us. It's Meteorologist Ansley Parker here, and we're going to do a little bit of an update to the extended forecast for the weekend just because as of this morning, the National Weather Service has gone with an extreme heat watch for Monday. So what I'm going to be kind of doing today is updating you on what an extreme heat watch means, talking a little bit more about how you should prepare for the day on Monday, and just explaining our weather impact alert a little bit further in detail, as well as I'll give you some additional updates on what we can expect, especially in terms of temperatures for the weekend. Other than that, this is not really a weather impact alert for severe weather, and we're mostly going to be talking about heat for the rest of this stream. So that's going to be the big focus of today and kind of why we're hopping on here as well. But it still starts off the same way we start off every live stream, which is talking about what we're seeing right now. So out on all 4 sky cams this morning, it's been a mostly clear start to the day. There's a couple of clouds outside, but other than that, not a ton going on. It's been a fairly quiet start to the day, and we really won't see that change much throughout the day. As you know, you'll kind of start to see the clouds increase a little bit. And then other than that, it'll stay fairly quiet. There's a chance for maybe a shower or two, maybe a storm in a couple of spots, but the rain chance on the 7-day, I've only thrown about a 10% on there because the chances just aren't looking too impressive. So what you see outside is a lot of what you're going to get for the rest of the afternoon today, and what you can't see is also a lot of what you're going to get for the afternoon. A lot of heat, which this has just been the story for days and days and days. We're at the end of July, we're starting to round the corner on August. We're used to the heat now. So kind of why we're making a big deal about Monday is because it's going to be the warmest heat that we've seen, not only for the summer, just all year long. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second here. But what we see right now is numbers that are mainly in the mid to upper 80s. So kind of fairly consistent across the board. There's not a huge distinction in some areas versus others. In the humidity, there's a little bit of fluctuation. We tend to see higher dew points here in our northeastern counties, down in our southwestern counties as well, but everybody's sitting under their fair share of muggy air this morning. Now, it is 11 in the morning. The feels like numbers in a couple of spots have already found triple digits. Here in Dublin and Milledgeville, feeling like 100. Down in Crisp County, not far over towards Unadilla, 99, and 98 in Cordele, feeling like at least. So there has been a couple of spots like Upson County who stayed feeling like the 80s, but elsewhere I think everybody is at least feeling like the 90s, if not the triple digits. So really the big headline for today is going to be the same headline that we've had for several days: heat. It's going to be really hot this afternoon, and we're setting up one of those heat domes. So the heat's only going to climb through the next couple of days as well. So for at least the next 3 or 4 days, this will be the coolest day on the forecast. 96 will be the high this afternoon, so some places will stay in the mid 90s, some places seeing the upper 90s. And like I said, there's a chance for a shower. It's not going to be a great chance. If you happen to see one, you'll be in one of the luckier spots. So let's get into the meat of this conversation, which is really the heat alert that we have on the way for Monday. So what I want to draw your attention to here is the temperature map from kind of an entire scale across the eastern U.S. here. Just look at what you can see here in terms of the coloring. So there's a kind of a big orange section taking over most of the eastern U.S. You can see where we start to creep into some cooler numbers, yellows, greens, even as you kind of leave Texas and look a little bit further west. What you're seeing here represents the heat dome that is setting up in our area and is going to be parked over us for the next couple of days. So this is going to be the driving factor in our weather for the next couple of days, and that's going to help our numbers start to increase steadily through the weekend and then into the early work week as well. You can see that also if we flip it over to the satellite radar and kind of show you the same thing. There's no major weather makers or fronts or anything organized heading our direction. This heat dome is also dominating what's happening at the surface as well, which is just keeping things nice and dry in our region. So here in central Georgia, satellite radar is going to be on vacation for kind of the most of the weekend. Similar to yesterday, there's going to be a chance for a shower or two, but what we really could use is kind of an organized rain chance to break up this upper level pattern that we have going on here. That's not going to be the case through the day today. I'll kind of flip it over to the future view. We'll briefly talk about rain chances just because there's not a ton to talk about here for the next couple of days. Throughout the day today, like I said, maybe a shower, maybe a storm, but you're probably going to stay mostly dry through the afternoon today. That's probably going to be the exact same story for Sunday. So Saturday and Sunday are going to be very similar days, especially when it comes to rain chances. As you can see, playing the future view all the way out to Sunday evening, just about nothing pops up. Maybe a blip if you catch a shower. I've said this before, but you'll be one of the luckier places because that will cool things down. So at first glance, right, Saturday and Sunday seem like great days. We've got Bragg Jam tonight. There's going to be great chance for outdoor plans if you have any, getting to the pool, lake day, enjoying the outdoors. It seems like a great chance to do that, and it is, as long as you kind of take precaution when it comes to the numbers outside, because that's really going to be the invisible kind of driving factor through the rest of the weekend. Monday, now that's, remember, our extreme heat day. The rain chances get slightly higher. I've gone from 10 to 20% on the 7-day forecast. What it really means is that there's a slightly better chance at catching one of these isolated showers or storms, but it's not like we're looking at any widespread rain chance. It's just a little bit of a better chance than we have for the weekend. So, kind of talking about that, you saw the rain chances aren't great, so there's not going to be a ton of relief from heat for the next couple of days. So what is the weather impact alerts? We are looking at dangerous heat indices for Monday, mainly Monday afternoon, when we kind of climb to the heat of the day. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, we've had a really high heat indices for many, many days. You know, we've been in the triple digits. It's felt really hot all summer long. Why is Monday such a big deal? Well, it's because the heat indices are going to get the highest that we've seen so far. So what is going to happen is mainly this second factor here, the actual numbers themselves. So the actual air temperature outside, it's going to climb its way into the triple digits. We have not seen the triple digits yet this summer. The highest temperature that we've recorded has been 98 degrees. We had one 98-degree day back in June, and we've had one 98-degree day here in July. So though it's felt really, really warm, we haven't actually jumped the air temperature up into the triple digits yet. We've had plenty of days feeling like the triple digits, but Monday we will probably actually hit that number. So because of that, the heat indices, which normally climb to the triple digits, are going to climb even higher than that. Right now it says up to 112 possible. What I want you to really think is just that the heat indices are going to be over 110. We kind of see these values climb pretty high on a daily basis, but over 110 is when we start to dip into this extreme heat watch criteria. So that is what has been issued for Monday. When we're talking about actual alerts, remember there's kind of 3 levels here, and I'll explain those for you right now. So now the thing is that we do have heat alerts for today and tomorrow as well. So we'll start with those. This orange color that you're kind of used to seeing, this is the heat advisory. So under the red color that you see here, for Saturday and for Sunday, we are under a heat advisory. That means today and tomorrow, the heat indices are going to climb between 105 and 108. So it's still going to be really warm today and tomorrow. We're still probably going to hit the highest number that we've seen so far tomorrow, maybe around 99. And that means that the heat advisory is in place. Heat advisory you're familiar with. We've seen this a couple of times during the summer. It's still something to take seriously because the heat's still going to be really high, but it's going to be something we've seen already. Monday is when this extreme heat watch comes into effect. Now you'll remember this is similar to a severe thunderstorm watch versus warning. Watch means that it's possible. It doesn't mean that it's 100% expected. When we kind of switch over to this pink color here, this means that we've tapped into an extreme heat warning. That means that those conditions are underway. They'll be happening in the next little bit or so. They're expected. This means that it's possible. So right now for Monday, we're keeping our eye on the numbers because it is possible that our heat indices could climb 110 and higher. So that's kind of what the distinction is between the heat advisory and the extreme heat watch and warning. So it's possible that you may see this turn into a pink color. That just means, yeah, okay, this is actually happening. Right now it just means we're on the lookout for these numbers to get that high. So let's kind of take a look at the actual numbers and talk a little bit more about that. And there's something else that I kind of want to explain with these as well. So like I said, the highest number that we've seen so far this year is only 98 degrees. By the time we're in tomorrow, I have forecasted here 99. So it could already be the warmest that we've felt so far by the time we get to the end of the weekend. Remember, the extreme heat watch kicks into effect as we push into Monday. The temperatures are expected to jump up into the triple digits, but you may notice something else. We may hold on to the triple digits heading into Tuesday. So the other thing is your weather impact alert is in place for Monday, but we're keeping our eye right now on Tuesday to see if those effects try to hold on over into Tuesday. So why is this not a guarantee right now? 2 things. 1, we're a little bit too far out. So the heat alert, the watch, is in effect for Monday, because that's about 72 hours out from now when they can kind of make a clear distinction on that. Tuesday's just a little bit too far out, so tomorrow we may have some more details on Tuesday, but as of right now, it's just a little bit too far for us to say for certain that we can kind of issue one of those watches. But the other thing is the rain chances could potentially increase heading into Tuesday. That could be a good thing because that could help keep the numbers at bay. It also may help break down our super kind of dome of heat in our area. We'll kind of have to see how that holds on heading into Tuesday. If it does hold on, if it remains strong, we could potentially see another extreme heat watch extended into Tuesday. If it starts to break apart and looks a little bit less certain, then we may just hang on to heat advisory as opposed to extreme heat watch. For now, I would just plan for Monday and Tuesday to be days that you try your best to stay indoors. I know it's going to be dry, so it seems like a good chance to get outside. But again, this is just heat that we're not used to just yet. I know we feel like we're in Georgia. We get strong heat a lot, but this, when you kind of take a look at the heat indices, may just feel a bit stronger. So like I said, today and tomorrow, heat indices that you felt before. This is heat advisory criteria. You're going to feel like the triple digits, but numbers that we've felt before. Monday, we start to creep into kind of uncharted territory a little bit. We haven't really felt heat indices quite above 110 just yet, and it just means that you could quickly fall to heat illness as opposed to when we are under cooler temperatures. So heat illness like heat exhaustion, heat stroke, they can just happen a lot faster and kind of unexpectedly when you have numbers that are so high. So my advice for Monday and for Tuesday, if you have to be outside and you know you've got plans, just make some plans if you're able to spend a little bit of time in the AC. Take breaks in the shade. You just don't want to expose yourself to sun for all day long because it is going to be really hot, and you don't want to kind of put yourself in a vulnerable position for heat illness. If you can, hydrate, just take the extra precautions to take care of yourself on Monday and Tuesday, really for the weekend as well, but I would consider this to be more like what we've seen over the past couple of weeks. So just to further kind of show you what I mean with the heat criteria here, I know I kind of broke it down when I was showing you the maps there, but to kind of just explain a little bit further why we haven't quite gone with a heat warning yet, extreme heat warning, why we're in extreme heat watch for Monday, notice how the certainty for these conditions has to jump up a whole lot more to issue a warning. So right now we're at about a 50% certainty that on Monday we will see heat values that exceed 110 in terms of the heat index, but we have to kind of have a lot more certainty to jump this up to a warning. So that may happen tomorrow, may happen sometime early Monday. We kind of just have to see how that goes. Now with the heat advisory, we're already at 80% certainty that tomorrow we're going to be feeling somewhere between 105 and 108 in terms of the heat index. So that just kind of shows you a little bit of a breakdown. Heat criteria is tough. It's kind of subjective. It can be really difficult to forecast heat index values because it can just be difficult to forecast dew point values. That's how much moisture is in the air. So a degree or two difference can make a big difference on the heat index, and that's why these heat criteria can be a bit subjective and kind of take a minute to really figure out if that is what we should expect for the rest of the day or not. Now kind of further jumping into this a little bit more as well, I told you the highest number that we've seen so far is 98 degrees. We have not had a 100-degree day just yet. The earliest 100-degree day that we've had in Macon was back in May of 26, or May 26, a couple of years back. The average tends to occur on July 2nd. So we're past July 2nd now. We're kind of creeping to the tail end of when the 100-degree day typically occurs, but the latest is on September 18th. So luckily, I think we may see 100 before we creep all the way into September. And I am hoping that we'll be climbing way lower than 100 by the time we get to September. But hopefully that just kind of gives you some perspective about where the numbers typically are for this time of year. Now, the good news is there is a silver lining on the forecast. If this is kind of not your thing, if heat's a little bit too much for you, by the time we creep into the second half of the work week, the rain chances will start to come back. So what's going to happen is that heat dome that's setting up on top of us in the upper levels of the atmosphere, there's going to be some disturbances that try to kind of break that apart and move it along. So it's going to get a lot weaker as we head into the rest of the week. That will, one, allow the rain chances to increase a little bit. So you can see on the long range here, the rain chances start to tick back up towards where we should be for the summertime. And not only that, but it's also just going to break apart the strength of that heat dome in general. So the temperatures won't be able to climb quite as high as what we're seeing this weekend and early next work week. I will just continue to hope for the rain though, because that will be a big difference maker, not only in the numbers, but we just haven't had a lot of rain this month either. So that is kind of the silver lining with the end of the work week, and hopefully that should help with the heat as well. Now, because we're here, I decided that we can just check in with the tropics as well. We are into tropic season. We are into August as well, which is when we typically see the first hurricane of the season. And we were watching a couple of days ago an area of disturbance that moved similarly to one of the other areas of disturbances we were watching from the southeastern U.S. coast into the Gulf of Mexico. We were just kind of paying attention to see what that decided to do, how it was going to interact with the warm waters, with the wind shear in that region. Luckily, that low pressure system has dissipated, and we're not really watching any areas of potential development, at least for right now. So there's no activity expected within the next 7 days. Of course, this can always change, but at least for right now, this is a welcome sight to see. Now, I mentioned we tend to see the first hurricane in the month of August. So we're kind of getting close to seeing August now, which is hard to say. I can't even believe that we're rounding out July, but you see how much the activity really starts to increase as we head into August and September. Typically, the first hurricane occurs right around August 11th on average. So you'll remember we've only had 3 storms so far. We're waiting on the 4th named storm of the season, and they've all been tropical storms. So we haven't seen a hurricane just yet. It's likely that we could see that happen within the next few weeks or so. And then that's when the main activity will start to take place as we push closer to September and October. And then there's only a few months left of hurricane season. So hopefully we can kind of get through this quickly, and we'll take the little activity that we have right now and just kind of hold on to that for the moment. So let's kind of recap everything that I just said, because it was kind of a lot that I threw at you there. But basically the big thing that you need to know is today and tomorrow and into the work week, the temperatures are going to be climbing. So for Saturday and Sunday, your typical heat advisory is in place. We're going to be feeling like the triple digits for both of these days, feeling between 105 and 108 in terms of the heat index. As we head into Monday, that's when we bump it up just a little bit more. We're feeling over 110 in most spots for Monday afternoon. Now that may carry over into Tuesday. You can see we do have 2 100-degree days forecasted on the 7-day there. We have to kind of see what the rain chances do and how well the heat dome holds on as we push through the weekend and into the early work week. So kind of put a pin in Tuesday. Make sure to kind of give yourself a mental note to be checking on it, see how Tuesday changes over the next few days. My hope is, and what's happening on the models right now, is that they're trending downward. I've held on to 100 just because I still think it's possible, but right now there does seem to be a general downward trend. So I'm crossing my fingers that that will kind of hold true over the next few days, but we really have to see how the models perform with Saturday and Sunday first. So keep a pin in Tuesday. Definitely plan for Monday to be an indoor day if it's possible for you. If not, plan for Monday to be a day that you hydrate extra, that you take breaks from the sun when possible, because this is just going to be really, really warm. The other thing that I want to mention really quickly before I sign off here, which I'll go back to our alerts here, just to show you, I should have said this while I was on this graphic, but you may notice Upson, Taylor, Macon, and technically Dooley, Wilcox, and Crisp counties are not included within the extreme heat watch. So the humidity may be a little bit higher in kind of the eastern counties of central Georgia here. I wouldn't necessarily exclude them. If you're in those counties and you're thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm good, I'm not necessarily in this heat alert, I think it's still possible for temperatures to feel that high as they are going to in other areas, or at least get close. So don't necessarily exclude yourself just because you're kind of on the tail end of that watch. I would just kind of advise everybody who's under our viewing area to be cautious of the heat potential for the upcoming week. They're also, I guess technically Dooley, Crisp, and Wilcox are in the heat advisory. Taylor, Macon, and Upson are not in the heat advisory. Again, same kind of thing. If you don't see yourself in that red color, I wouldn't call it a huge distinction between potentially seeing 110-degree feels like numbers and not. I think that maybe the certainty was just a little bit lower, and that's why they didn't go with it if you're kind of looking for an explanation. but I think generally it's still possible. So I would just kind of advise, if you're in those counties, maybe just count yourself in, at least for the next couple of days, especially since this would be the first time that we've seen those numbers this season. So anyways, kind of just jumping back to that to explain that, because I missed it earlier. The good news is, the silver lining that I'm holding on to is the heat dome kind of breaks apart as we head into the mid work week. And then into the end of the work week, we're seeing lower numbers. It's still going to be warm, but we're going to find our way into the mid to lower 90s as opposed to the upper 90s, 100s, and the rain chances will start to increase as well. So my hope is that August at least will be off to somewhat of a more seasonal start, because it's hard to say, but we're rounding out July and kind of turning the corner on August now. So as you know, when we have weather impact alerts, we will have a lot of updates for you throughout the day today. We'll also be back here tomorrow morning. I will be live once again at 10 a.m. as opposed to 11 a.m. to kind of do an update for you. Maybe tomorrow morning we might have better answers for Tuesday, so definitely check back in tomorrow morning to see if we've been able to check that box on what Tuesday is going to look like, or if we kind of still need one more day to get Tuesday under our belt. Of course, you can also stay updated online and here on 13 WMAZ Plus. Me and meteorologist David Guerrero will be sending out all the updates that you need to know for this weather impact alert. But to get the gist, just take a little bit of a break today. Use some of your air conditioning, have a fan on you, and definitely wherever you're heading, bring a water bottle, because it's just going to be really warm through the rest of the weekend and to kick off next work week as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a very safe and happy weekend, and we will see you right back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.